Woo! Good morning. It's a Monday morning, 6:05 a.m. Thank you so much for being here. It's City's 92.9 Conservative Cat. We're back at it again this morning. I might sound a little hoarse. It was kind of windy yesterday. The harvest is going strong. Big shout out to all the farmers out there who are feeding us. It was a little dusty. So if I sound a little hoarse, it's because my allergies are just out of control. But big thank you to the farmers out there harvesting. We need the food. So along with our friends at Lincoln Precision in El Paso, Compeer Financial in Pontiac, Cornbell Energy, and in Lexington, we've got the good guys at Parker Chevy, Country Financial Agent Mike Rich. This harvest season, we are delivering freaky fast Jimmy John sandwiches to farmers working out in their fields. So if you want to nominate a farmer, for them to get a free lunch from us, Cities 92.9, you can head on over to our website, that's cities99.com. If I sound hoarse, it's because I am dealing with a little bit of allergies. I am trying to, I get those little honey sticks, the local honey, they say that helps. So 309-451-9299, we got to get into it because this is a huge story. It really is. And people are going to try to dismiss this story. An armed man outside of Trump's Coachella rally. This was a Coachella rally over this weekend, and the local sheriff there is insisting that this was a third assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life. And despite all of that, guess what? The guy is out. The guy that could be a third assassin would have been he was a would-be assassin because he didn't succeed. He says he's not an assassin. Yeah, of course he does. But he's out. They let this guy walk on a lousy, meager $5,000 bail. That's hilarious. This armed man was arrested outside of the rally over the weekend. We've got the story right here. A little bit later in the show, you're going to want to stick around because I'm going to be talking about the Illinois congressional candidate, Joe McGraw. He's a retired judge, Judge Joe McGraw. He's accusing the incumbent, Congressman Eric Sorenson, the weatherman, of politicizing the hurricanes to win his race. We're seeing that at a federal level with Kamala Harris, where she's politicizing the hurricanes, and she's trying to play this phone game with Ron DeSantis, which I think is kind of funny. She wants to be a part of the club. Ron DeSantis is not taking calls from Kamala Harris. We know that about the storm recovery. And Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton just hammered southern parts of the country. And Governor Ron DeSantis said, she has no part in this. She has no part in this. And McGraw, he's saying that Eric Sorenson is politicizing, kind of victim blaming these people in these 6 southern states, southeast states. He's victim blaming. And he's kind of using this green weenie reasons and, hey, there's a lot of heat energy, climate change, all of that is contributing to the intensity of these hurricanes. But really what he's doing, he's distracting from the fact that they've been slow to respond to North Carolina, specifically North Carolina, because it's a red voter area. Judge Joe McGraw is just saying that. He says, look, it's a red voter area. They're slow to respond, FEMA, rather than talking about their failure to intervene and get feds down there on the ground. They're putting up a straw man about Project 2025. And, Eric Sorenson saying, Project 2025 is going to go away if Donald Trump we're going to do away with federal agencies that put weather forecasters down on the ground. And he says under Project 2025, it would get rid of technology that we use for weather modeling work and things like that. And he said this is a straw man argument. So we're going to get to that here in just a little bit. But I do want to start out with the third Trump assassination attempt. This is kind of crazy. And you're going to hear, he was a far-right extremist. This was an assassination attempt. I want to give you all of the facts. And you can kind of decide if you think that this is a third assassination attempt. My thoughts, yes. it's a third assassination attempt. It makes sense. It's common sense to say that this was a third assassination attempt. But let's get into it. So the local cops, they're outside of the Coachella rally. They arrested a guy. He was armed outside of the Donald Trump rally in California. Okay, so he's hitting all of these stops. We're going to talk about how he's hitting deep blue areas, and this is a good sign because that means he's winning. He's never going to switch those states over to red. Okay, California. He's going to be in Illinois. He is going to be in New York. He's never going to turn these states red. Okay, but it's all about optics, when you're campaigning, and he wants people to know that he thinks that he's winning. And, I don't want you to get caught up in, oh yeah, Donald Trump is so far ahead in the polls, I don't need to go vote. No. You need to still act like this guy is 2 points down, like Donald Trump is 2 points down when we need to get out the vote. But anyway, California, he's there, he's rallying, and he's campaigning in deep blue areas because he thinks he's winning, and it's for the optics. We're going to get to that later in the show, probably around 7 o'clock. But he was in California. Local sheriff, he is doubling down on his claims that this is a third assassination attempt and that he prevented it. He and his deputies all prevented this third assassination attempt. But this is where it gets crazy. This guy is out. He's walking amongst the citizenry. Okay, the guy who was armed outside of the Donald Trump rally is still out there, and he posted a bail for gun charges. Okay, they had gun charges against him. And the sheriff here, his name is Chad Bianco, and he's the sheriff, the Riverside County Sheriff. He says, quote, "I truly do believe we prevented another assassination attempt," he told reporters on Sunday, according to the New York Post. Now, the suspect's name is Them Miller. He's 49 years old. He was arrested at a checkpoint outside of the Trump rally in Coachella Valley, California. So, like I said, 49 years old, caught by the police at this checkpoint. He was allegedly trying to enter the rally using a phony press pass. Okay, that's raises my eyebrows. That's like strike number one. That's weird. Why would you try to enter a Trump rally under false pretenses, right? But then the cops noticed his car was unregistered. Okay. And then they searched his vehicle, and he had fake passports, fake driver's licenses, a shotgun, a loaded handgun, and a high-capacity magazine. Now, a high-capacity magazine, I don't know, what's deemed a high-capacity magazine for these people, but I'm not so concerned about the weaponry, right? What does raise a concern for me and raises my eyebrows is the fake passports and the fake driver's license, the unregistered vehicle, and the fact that this guy was trying to get into the rally under false pretenses, okay? So a lot of question marks, right? Can we all agree that that's kind of odd? So as soon as he was booked on these weapon charges, cops find him at this checkpoint, they book him on these weapon charges, he sprung, posting a $5,000 bail, but the sheriff turned around and told the press that his department had saved Trump's life and that this was a third assassination attempt. Can you guess who disagrees with the sheriff? Okay, yeah, it's the feds. The federal agencies disagree. The Secret Service believes that it's unlikely that Miller was attempting to assassinate the president. The FBI is not investigating it as an assassination attempt. And the feds, or at least sources told the New York Post, feds told them that Miller is a member of an anti-government far-right group and probably had the weapons for personal defense alone. Okay. I mean, I don't know, gun people, I wouldn't keep 2 guns. It sounds like he had quite a bit of ammo, quite a bit of or he had a shotgun, had a handgun. That seems like a little bit of overkill for just having it in the car, not to mention he was armed himself. Seems like a little bit of overkill just to defend yourself. Typically, a defense weapon, you just kind of carry it on your hip, right? Or in your car. You can't take it into the rallies, obviously. But Yeah, it seems like overkill to deem this as, oh, it's just for his defense, right? He was just had all these weapons in an unregistered car with all these fake passports for defense, for personal defense. Sure, Secret Service, whatever you say. Secret Service later said that Trump wasn't at risk during the rally. Well, that's just not true. I mean, even outside of this, instance with Mr. Miller here, the guy who was arrested, Trump is always at risk. Okay, and it's just disingenuous to say that he's not at risk. Okay, he's always at risk at these rallies because he's almost been killed twice. Okay, so to say that it kind of proves to me that you're not taking this seriously. Miller was reportedly asked by his lawyer after the FBI tried to interview him. He asked for a lawyer after the FBI tried to interview him to see if this was an assassination attempt, and he told reporters that Miller told reporters that this claim of him trying to assassinate Trump was complete BS. Okay. So he's denying that this was an assassination attempt, but naturally, right? The assassin, the would-be assassin, is denying that he was trying to assassinate the president. But the sheriff stood by his initial assessment. So the local sheriff here, while speaking to the press, said Miller was a lunatic, and he suggested that the country might also be out of their mind for suggesting that he was being dramatic by calling this a third assassination attempt. He says, what frame of mind he was in, all we can do is speculate, says the local sheriff there. If you're asking me right now, I probably did have deputies that prevented a third assassination attempt. So he's doubling down on this. And then he goes further. He says, if we're that politically lost that we've lost sight of common sense and reality and reason, and we can't say, holy crap, what did he show up with all this stuff for? What did he show up with fake passports for? An unregistered car. He was trying to enter the rally under false pretenses. And then he goes on, the sheriff, he says, I'm going to be accused of being dramatic? What? He goes, we have serious, serious problems in this country because this is common sense. This is reason. Why else would he have a ton of fake passports and fake driver's license in an unregistered vehicle, and then also tried to enter the rally under false pretenses, saying that he was press and he wasn't? Okay, so a little bit about this guy, this would-be assassin, because at this point, I want to just call him the would-be assassin. I get the feds or the FBI, they're not investigating it as an assassination attempt, but come on, folks, let's use common sense here. Like the sheriff is saying, let's use reason. I mean, what did he show up with all that stuff for? He has an extensive history of petty run-ins with the law, according to some sources, and he appears to be a member of the Sovereign Citizens Movement. Now, the FBI is saying that this is a far-right movement built on conspiracy theories that believe the government has no authority over them. Okay, I don't know what Miller is a part of, but here's what I do know. Is people who listen to this program and people who are on the right, people who are conservative, they don't have run-ins with the law, typically. They don't have extensive history of running in with the law, having petty run-ins with the law. We're typically law-abiding citizens. And the FBI calls this group anti-government extremists who maintain that while they physically reside in the country, they remain separate or sovereign from the United States. This is not your typical right-wing belief or your conservative belief that you physically reside in the country, but you are sovereign from the United States or you are separate of the United States. The whole point of Make America Great Again is that we love the country. We love the idea of government. Now we're limited government because that's what the founding fathers wanted. We're not anti-government. A lot of conservatives, MAGA people, we're not anti-government. We're just limited government. We want to get back to what the founding fathers wanted for this country. We want to make America great again, where we're abiding by the Constitution, right? So we don't hold this belief that we are separate or sovereign from the United States. That is not a conservative held belief. Okay, typically you do not think that you are separate of the United States. Now, leftists, far left extremists, they believe that they are sovereign outside and that they are outside of the United States. And I can provide you an example. Chaz. Okay, you guys remember Chaz? This was an autonomous zone, and it was in Seattle, Washington. The zone, originally covering 2 intersections in Seattle, Washington, there, was established in 2020 by people protesting the May 2020, if you want to say killing. He wasn't killed. He died by suicide, really, with all the drugs and the amount of fentanyl in his system. George Floyd, right? This was a George Floyd protest. And the zone was created by far left protesters, and that's what the left does. They think that they are to be operating outside of the United States. Okay, and they create these autonomous zones. This has happened outside of Chaz. This has happened a couple of other times. The illegal immigrants, Aurora, Colorado, even instances in Chicago that suggest that these leftist or even illegal immigrants believe that they are separate or outside of and sovereign from the United States. That is a leftist trope. Okay, that they believe that they're outside of the United States. They've gone as far as to create these autonomous zones. They shot off fireworks. They had people guarding Chaz. If you guys remember the story, they had people guarding this autonomous zone with weaponry. I mean, huge guns, and they were walking around and they were making sure people didn't leave or enter into this autonomous zone called Chaz. You guys remember this? So that is leftist behavior. So you're going to hear from the mainstream media that this third Trump assassin, I'm calling him a third Trump assassin or would-be assassin, you're going to hear that this is an assassination attempt. The feds aren't investigating it as such. You're also going to hear that this was a far-right extremist who just had a bunch of guns in his car. No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it because he had fake passports. He also had all kinds of fake driver's license. He had an unregistered car. He was trying to enter the rally under false pretenses. They're going to try to say that this was some sort of MAGA extremist who just happened to have all kinds of guns in his car. No. He also holds a leftist trope, this is a leftist trope, that you are operating outside of the United States or you are separate from the United States. The whole point of the MAGA movement is that we want to make America great again. We want to live in a great America. We don't want to be separate from America. All right, I do have to take a quick break, but I had to tell you about the third Trump assassination attempt. I'll be right back. It's Conservative Cat. Hi, friends. Go ahead and smash that like button. When we come back, we are going to be talking about the congressional candidate and the retired Judge Joe McGraw. He is accusing the incumbent Congressman Eric Sorenson of politicizing the hurricanes to win his race. Yes, so we're going to be right back with that. Keep tuned and go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hey, good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. Henry, good morning. So do appreciate you being here. Go ahead, smash that like button and share this out with your friends. When we come back, we are going to be talking about the Illinois congressional candidate, Judge Joe McGraw. He's a retired judge, and he is now accusing the incumbent Congressman Eric Sorenson of politicizing the hurricanes to win his race, which is kind of funny that's happening at a local level here with our congressman, our Illinois congressman, because at a federal level, you've got Kamala Harris doing the exact same thing, where she is politicizing the hurricane, trying to get people to take her phone calls so that way she can film herself. She did wind up getting a mayor out of St. Pete to take her phone call, and they filmed it. And, it was just a campaign stunt. It's a campaign stunt. And that's what Judge Joe McGraw, he's saying about Congressman Eric Sorenson politicizing the hurricane. He says that Eric Sorenson is, talking about, of course, the green-weenie climate change. Hey, this is why these hurricanes have intensified and they develop faster. And that's what Eric Sorenson is saying, and it leaves you little time to prepare. Sure, okay, let's talk about climate change and the heat energy. If you want to talk about that, you have to acknowledge that the United States, we have lowered our carbon emissions tenfold in comparison to other places on the planet, India, China. They've done nothing. They have no climate change standards to abide by, carbon emission standards to abide by. If you want to talk about that, you also have to talk about the rest of the planet not contributing to ending climate change, right? So we're going to chat about that and Gretchen Whitmer releasing this really creepy video. Smash that like button and share this out with your friends. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. As always, I'm live on YouTube and on Rumble, on Facebook. You guys can see me in studio. And we're going to get to a lot this morning. I do want to get to Gretchen Whitmer. She released this really creepy Doritos video. Yes. I don't know what the heck she's doing, but she's releasing these really cringy videos. She released one with Governor J.B. Pritzker. And it just made my skin crawl. This one's worse because she's like seductively feeding a woman Doritos, which is really weird. And it's just like silent. They don't talk in it. She just feeds this woman a Dorito. And it's like, she's definitely making it sexual, or at least trying to make it appear seductive. I don't know. Very weird. All right. I do want to get to Illinois congressional candidate and retired Judge Joe McGraw. Chatted with him. He's accusing the incumbent, Congressman Eric Sorenson, of politicizing hurricanes to win his race. We are going to get to that story. Plus, an Arizona mother. She was arrested for being mean to her mayor? Question mark. In this country, you can be mean to your mayor. There's a little something called the First Amendment, and you can be critical of your government. And she was arrested for doing just that, being critical of her local government. And body cam footage has been released, and it shows the police violating her rights. So I want to talk about this Arizona mom. She was in Surprise, Arizona. And the mayor there, his name is Skip Hall. So we're going to be chatting about that story because you need to know that you can criticize your government. City manager Pam Reese, she gets pay raise after pay raise after pay raise after pay raise. If you were to look at it, your jaw would drop. I mean, this woman's on track to make as much as the president of the United States. She doesn't yet. I think it's like over $200,000 or something like that. Plus, she gets all kinds of perks, a vehicle stipend, all that nonsense. She's on track to make more than the president of the United States at this point. Pam Reese for the town of Normal, folks. So you can be critical of her getting pay raise after pay raise after pay raise. That is what this Arizona mom did in Surprise, Arizona. She was critical of the city attorney, who he just keeps getting pay raises, and she was critical of that. So we'll get to that. But first, Judge Joe McGraw. So on MSNBC, we had Eric Sorenson. He was saying that Project 2025 would get rid of technology and would get rid of weather forecasters. The NOAA, National Weather Service, things like that. Now, in a social media post, he urged voters to vote against policies like Project 2025. And then he was, of course, on MSNBC talking about climate change and how it's contributing to the storm, and that there is a benefit to the National Weather Service. I've talked about this before. Project 2025 comes from the Heritage Foundation. They've authored this. It's a wish list. I've combed through Project 2025. They've made it out to be like a boogeyman. Project 2025 isn't all that bad. There's things in there that I don't agree with, but the crux of Project 2025 is cutting government bloat. Now, I haven't figured out if they wanted to completely eliminate the National Weather Service, but if it's consistent, the parts I have read of Project 2025, they just want to cut a lot of these, high paid salary people who really don't do anything, but they're like pencil pushers in the agencies. So Eric Sorenson on MSNBC, he says, what would it mean for people to not get warning ahead of time? Just imagine if that were to go away, the National Weather Service. Okay, we as Americans don't bat an eye for the benefit of the National Weather Service. What would that mean for people who do not get the warning ahead of time? Okay, so he's trying to use this as like a scare tactic, like, oh, if Donald Trump gets in, the National Weather Service is going to go away. Come on, folks, let's get real here, okay? The National Weather Service is not going to go away if Donald Trump gets in, okay? Because he has not claimed Project 2025. He has not authored Project 2025. That was the Heritage Foundation. He has completely distanced himself, and he is not a part of Project 2025. So just because he becomes president does not mean that Project 2025 will be policy that's implemented. Okay, this is a wish list from a conservative think tank. Okay, so Judge Joe McGraw, he said, look, this is a distraction. The federal government has no intention of dismantling those services, National Weather Service and NOAA. Okay, this is a distraction. And Vice President Kamala Harris, she's politicized this and played a phone game with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. And they're really just distracting from what we really should be talking about. And that's the fact that FEMA, the federal government, they've been slow to respond to North Carolina specifically because it's a red voter area. This is Judge Joe McGraw saying that. And he says, rather than talking about their own failure to intervene here and their failure to respond, they're putting up this straw man about Project 2025 and how it's going to take away the National Weather Service and NOAA. I would imagine that it doesn't do that. I haven't read through that part of Project 2025. Most likely it talks about, cutting the bloat within government agencies and federal agencies. So Sorensen, he says that the hurricanes are developing faster due to heat energy. What does that mean? Carbon emissions, right? And we can't have that conversation, right, about how these storms are developing faster. Sure, if you want to say that climate change is happening and that these storms are more powerful than storms in the past, despite the death toll not being higher than that of Hurricane Katrina, from what I've seen. And maybe it will be higher, I don't know. But how do you even really measure that this hurricane is worse, right? How do you measure that? But he says that they're worse. Okay, let's talk about that. Because if you want to talk about climate change, you've got to point out that America has reduced their carbon emissions more than any other country in the world. Nobody's contributing to these climate change policies except the United States. Nobody is even making an effort to limit their carbon emissions. Is there measurable climate change? This is what Judge Joe McGraw says. He says yes. But what causes it? What can we do to affect it? And he says it's to think that one country can do as opposed to what one country can do as opposed to the rest of the world, like China and India, who aren't abiding by any climate change standards, that somehow we as one country, through our efforts, can somehow affect the weather is dubious at best. It's insane to think that, oh, if just America, if we stop eating meat, if we stop driving gas-powered vehicles, if we do all of these things, then, oh, we're going to affect the weather. It's insane. That's an insane ideology. And really, it's cult-like behavior to believe that you can actually make a change in the weather if you drive an electric vehicle. That there's no science that backs that up. So, yeah, this is just Eric Sorenson politicizing the hurricane, much like Kamala Harris, where she tries to call everybody, every government official to, get their phone call taped as if she's responding to the hurricane and is a part of that process, a part of the response. She's not even a part of the response. All right, I got to take a quick break, but when we come back, I've got so much to get to, including Gretchen Whitmer and her cringy videos. That's next on Conservative Cat. Woo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Big shout out to Leon. He's texted me this morning. He says, "Good morning. My allergies are killing me too. I help my brother on the farm." Big shout out to Leon. Yes, my allergies are killing me. No, I might sound a little hoarse. It's just because it was a little windy yesterday, and obviously the farmers are harvesting their fields. And that brings me to Feed the Farmers. Okay, farmers feed us, but who feeds them? So every year we do this with our friends at Linco Precision in El Paso, Compeer Financial in Pontiac, Cornbell Energy, and the good guys at Barker Chevy in Lexington, Country Financial Agent Mike Rich. Every harvest season, we deliver freaky fast Jimmy John sandwiches to farmers working their fields. So if you want to nominate a farmer, say thank you to a farmer, you can head on over to cities99.com and nominate them to get a free lunch, right? We drive it out to them in the middle of the field. And oh, gosh, I'm telling you, is anybody's my allergies are just killing me. I got like this weird little cough, and I'm trying to drink some coffee. I put a little bit of honey in my coffee this morning. That's supposed to help with allergies, local honey. But before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about Gretchen Whitmer. I do want to continue with that story. I got a text too. They were wondering what district Judge Joe McGraw is in. Judge Joe McGraw, who's a candidate in the Illinois congressional 17th. Okay, that's the 17th district. The incumbent in that district is Eric Sorenson. All right, let's get to Gretchen Whitmer, because she's a nut. And she filmed this really weird video of herself. It's just kind of like this creepy music. I want to play the music here for you. It's this creepy music, and it's really cringy. She feeds a Dorito to a girl on her knees. And I don't know if this is like some deranged campaign ad for the Kamala Walz regime. I'm assuming because she's wearing like a campaign hat, like a Walz hat or a Harris Walz hat. But it's just really weird. And I want you to hear the music too. Take a listen. Love you. Oh, I do. No matter what I do. Oh. And then it's like it's stuck on Gretchen Whitmer's face, and she's not really smiling. She has like a Harris Walz camo hat on and a bag of Doritos, and she started feeding this girl who's on her knees Doritos. America called. She wants her sanity back. Okay, this is not. There is no place in a mature, civilized society for this kind of content. And if we lived in a serious society, we would take Gretchen Whitmer and we would kidnap. No, that was faked. It was all staged. We know that we did not kidnap her. But if we lived in a real society, this woman would no longer be the governor. Okay, we would vote her out. This is really unsettling. It feels reminiscent of a horror film, and the music, like I said, doesn't really help with that. It just adds to the whole creepy. It's just really weird. The fact that these people are elected just baffles my mind. These are weirdos, and there's people out there who are celebrating this video as like a great campaign ad for the Harris Walz regime. And that's weird. Okay. And it's extremely telling of the times that we're in. Gretchen has the nerve, by the way, to tell people that people like Governor or Tim Walz, JD Vance, she says that he's weird. And I mean, the lack of self-awareness really needs to be studied here. I'm going to share this with you. This is her on MSNBC talking about how weird Donald Trump and JD Vance are. She's the one who seductively fed a Dorito to a girl on her knees to the tune of like a weird horror film song. Okay, so she says that JD Vance is weird. Sure, Gretchen.
Let's talk about this new race and that new talking point. Weird or weirdos, however you want to put it. Tell us, do you agree with that assessment? And why do you think it's breaking through?
Well, it's quite a jarring segue. Weirdos and freaks. Here's Governor Whitmer. I think that my colleagues are pointing out the obvious, that the agenda, the way they talk to people, the way they address people. It is bizarre. It's weird. It is weird. I also don't want to diminish the fact, though, that it also presents a very real risk for us as a country. And weird is kind of a funny phrase to use because it's bizarre, but at the same moment, we've got to say this is a serious moment in this country. I am proud to be a co-chair of the Harris campaign because my candidate is offering us a brighter future, a focus on how she's going to make people's lives better. This perpetual, I think, aim to divide us and to inflame us and to anger us and to stoke hate is what's so dangerous in this country right now. And so I want to focus on what does the future look like for my kids, for your kids, for the next generation of Americans, for all of us. So
oh, what a bunch of gobbledygook that was. Okay. And like I said, she's calling the Trump campaign weird. JD Vance weird. And they admit it. I mean, I thought that was so hilarious. You've got the MSNBC guy out here.
is segue.
Hang on, let me back it up a little bit.
Or weirdos, however you want to put it. Tell us, do you?
He hold on.
Let's talk about this new race and that new talking point.
He says talking point. Okay, because these people know it's a talking point. The weirdo, the weird. Let's call JD Vance weird. Let's call the Donald Trump campaign bizarre, because this is a talking point. And she says, my colleagues and I all regurgitate and constantly say this talking point that the Trump campaign is weird and bizarre. But I think the bizarre one is you, Gretchen Whitmer. You're filming chip videos. Okay, chips. You're feeding women on their knees chips to horror film ambiance. Okay, tunes. And that has no place in American politics. I'm sorry, but you feeding Doritos to a woman on her knees in a very seductive type way and staring at the camera in a really unsettling manner, that has no place in American politics. I'm sorry. All right, I do have to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. We'll be right back. Good morning. Hey, it's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. With the Gretchen Whitmer thing, I'd say, no harm, no foul, but really, I think it should be illegal. This has no place in American politics, okay? It should be illegal for politicians to behave like this. She was feeding a woman on her knees a Dorito. I mean, that's not your job as a governor, okay? You're not serving the people of Michigan. You're not dedicated to the people of Michigan. That should be your entire job. And day in, day out, you should be dedicated to serving the people of Michigan. And, the fact that she's got time to film this, the fact that Governor J.B. Pritzker has time to film these weird videos with Gretchen Whitmer, I mean, that's weird. I mean, I just don't understand. In the media, they go on this media tour labeling J.D. Vance or Donald Trump as bizarre. What? You took an oath to represent the people of Michigan. This is not representative of the people of Michigan, and you're clearly not doing your job. Your job is not to feed a woman on her knees Doritos. Okay, can anyone name one thing that this woman or Governor J.B. Pritzker has done that is that's been a little bit beneficial for the people of Michigan? She hasn't done anything for the people of Michigan. I don't think anybody can name one. Name one thing that she's done. I don't think you're going to be able to. Name one thing Governor J.B. Pritzker has done. All right, when we come back, I am going to be talking about the First Amendment and its role of limiting the government. Okay, that is what the First Amendment is there for. It's to limit the government, not the people. And Americans have the right to peacefully assemble and criticize their elected officials, especially when they act like power-hungry tyrants and they take all of your tax dollars. Okay, you have the right to go to your city council meeting and be outraged that Pam Reese has gotten another pay raise. Okay, you have that right. All right, I'm going to be talking about a woman in Surprise, Arizona next. Top of the hour, you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Hey, good morning. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. Go ahead and smash that like button and share this out with your friends. To those of you who are local here, there is going to be a meeting. I think it's going to be at 4:00 tonight. According to Crystal Abel, she says at the McLean County Executive Committee, Chair Catherine Metzger, will present a resolution to support statewide legislation to protect the sole source Mahomet Aquifer, where our drinking water comes from, for Normal and many others, by prohibiting CO2 sequestration wells from being drilled through the aquifer. Okay. Now, I don't know why she used that kind of phrasing. It's not really drilled through the aquifer. It could be drilled. They'll put this carbon sequestration pipeline underneath the aquifer, okay? And that's where the problem arises. So just to be clear, it's going to be underneath the aquifer. There's no real way to make sure that these things don't leak. As I told you last week, these carbon sequestration injection wells in Decatur, they take the carbon out of the air, they put it down, they shove it down into the ground, and they put it in an injection well. Right beside the injection well is a monitoring well, and these failed. Okay, so there's no real way, efficient way, I should say, to ensure that these injection wells, and they're talking about pipelines. So this is we're putting the horse before the cart, I guess, or however that phrase goes or that saying goes, because the carbon pipelines are like, the next level. We can't even get the injection wells right because we have the monitoring wells failing. So we have no idea if these things are leaking or not, because the monitoring wells make sure that everything's running smoothly underneath the ground there, because there's no true way outside of these monitoring wells to ensure that they are not leaking. A leak is not only detrimental to your health, it could be detrimental to your water. And here's what I'm upset about. Crystal Abel, she goes around and she, is all for Governor J.B. Pritzker. She's all for these Democrats. at the state legislature. We know that probably Sharon Chung voted for this thing. Dave Kaler. I'm going to go look it up. See if Dave Kaler and Sharon Chung voted for this thing. Okay, I know Crystal Abel loves these people. She'll campaign for them, but these people are voting on bills that directly impact you, the Muhammad Aquifer. And this legislation, this statewide legislation, what it did, it purposefully did not address eminent domain or the Muhammad Aquifer. This was all the Republicans wanted. Okay, they didn't even say, let's not do carbon pipelines. They just said on the floor, hey, let's protect the flippin' Muhammad Aquifer. Let's protect people's private property rights. Okay, let's protect their property rights. I'm going to do some digging, find out if Sharon Chung and Dave Kaler actually voted for this thing. We'll be right back. Go ahead, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Okay, I need to show you something. This is incredible, okay? And it's so important that you guys pay attention to this part because this is affecting you in your day-to-day life, okay? The Muhammad Aquifer is not protected in this SAFE CCS Act, okay? Now, I want to present this to you. Hopefully you can see it. Right, probably not. Okay, so if you scroll in, and if you look here, you can kind of see here where it says INS dental care, insurance dental care. Okay, that is not what this bill does. And this is how they are so deceptive at the state level. Okay, now this is called the INS dental care reimbursement, right? And you see all these Senate sponsors and everything like that. Now you go down and you start to realize, wait a second, they've amended this to the point where it has nothing to do with Illinois Insurance Code. It has nothing to do with your dental service plan, and it has everything to do with the carbon sequestration. This is called the SAFE CCS Act. And it does not have provisions in there that currently protect the Muhammad Aquifer or eminent domain. Okay, so you've got them passing that dental insurance thing. And they passed it all the way up until, this point. Let me look here. Okay, now it goes here. And this is towards the end of legislative session. They referred it for, House floor amendments and things like that. And then they added all kinds of sponsors and things like that. So I'm looking for, there's Joyce Mason. I'm looking for Dave Kaler. Yep, here we go. He was added as a sponsor of the bill, okay, in the late stages of the game, okay, and here's where they passed it 78-29. So it was gutted. It was gutted and replaced. This is trickery in the General Assembly, and you've got Dave Kaler participating in it. So yeah, there you have it. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I promise we're going to get to the woman in Arizona, surprise Arizona. But I wanted to talk about this because you've got Crystal Abel out there on her social media talking about the carbon sequestration. Okay. Now, I have followed this very closely where you've got this, it's called Safe CCS Act. Okay, that's what was passed at the state house, at the state level, in the General Assembly, the state Senate, the state house. Before I took the break, I was telling you, I was, saying, hey, I wonder if Dave Kaler and Sharon Chung voted for this thing. Well, I found out. Okay, I found out. You've got Crystal Abel out there this morning talking about, at the McLean County Executive Committee tonight at 4:00. You've got Chair Catherine Metzger. She's going to present a resolution to support statewide legislation to protect the sole source Mahomet Aquifer. Okay, this is where your drinking water comes from for Normal and many others. Okay, your drinking water comes from Mahomet Aquifer, and if you're in the central Illinois area, I mean Champaign, I think there's parts of Champaign that get their drinking water from this Mahomet Aquifer, and they're going to support a resolution, and this is bipartisan. Okay, Catherine Metzger and Crystal Abel are for this resolution that would support statewide legislation to protect the Mahomet Aquifer by prohibiting carbon sequestration wells from being drilled through the aquifer. I want to clear up what she says there. It's not really drilling through the aquifer. What they do is they sequester the carbon and they put it under the aquifer. But like I said, and as I've talked about several times, this is like pseudoscience. The carbon sequestration to, take carbon out of the air, put it down into the ground. It's science that's not really proven. It doesn't do anything really other than put our lives at risk. So in Decatur, they've got a couple of these things and they're called injection wells. That's like, it's like first base. Okay, the injection wells, we're talking about second base with this Safe CCS Act, where they are drilling and they're doing, or they're sequestering carbon, they're putting it down under the ground, and they're doing these large, massive carbon pipelines. Okay, so the injection wells are a little different than the carbon pipelines. They're like first base in comparison to like carbon pipelines. They're more complicated because they're moving the carbon from one injection well to the next. We can't even get the injection process down because in Decatur, their monitoring wells failed, and we don't know if that carbon is leaking or not. And we all have carbon dioxide detectors in our houses. It's dangerous if you inhale carbon, this dangerous gas. It's dangerous if it gets into your drinking water, hence the Mahomet Aquifer. Crystal Abel bothers me, and here's why. She's saying that she's supporting this resolution that her and Catherine Metzger, and on its face, you're like, oh wow, Crystal Abel is actually like she's listening to the constituency here, and she's cares about the environment. She actually cares about the Mahomet Aquifer. No, because you support people like Dave Kaler and you support Sharon Chung, who all voted for this thing. They had a chance. The state legislature had a chance to include the Mahomet Aquifer protections in this Safe CCS Act back during legislative session in the spring. Okay, they had a chance to include the Mahomet Aquifer protection and also eliminate the whole provision about eminent domain where the government can just come in and say, this is the property we want to sequester carbon under, and you have no say as a private property owner. Okay, so it was trying to protect property rights. That's all the Republicans wanted. Heck, they weren't even like upset about the carbon sequestration, which in and of itself, me as a Republican in the state house, I would have said, are you kidding me? This is pseudoscience. This is ridiculous. You want to put people's lives in jeopardy just to put carbon down under the ground? What, to help with our carbon emissions? Which, by the way, the process to clean the carbon and sequester it and put it down into the ground emits carbon itself, which is kind of funny and ironic. But the Republicans just said, can we please protect our drinking water? Can we please just protect our drinking water? They begged on the House floor for that and for the eminent domain. Can we protect private property rights? And can we protect the drinking water? You've got Dave Kaler, who Crystal Abel constantly campaigns with. You've got Sharon Chung voting for this thing. And I mean, what do you mean? You're all for a resolution now? You should have talked to your friends there, Crystal. You should have talked to him back when they were talking about this. And I want to point this out. This is how you know your representatives are completely disingenuous. If you were to be watching the stream, I'd take you through this, okay? It started out as an insurance bill, a dental care insurance bill. Now, they were talking about carbon sequestration the entire legislative session, but there was no bill. Okay, they gutted a bill, they replaced it with all of this carbon sequestration crap, and they pushed it through, they rammed it through at the end. And Republicans begged for the Mahomet Aquifer to be protected. Okay, so, I mean, to say that all of a sudden you're now all in favor of this resolution, you should have been in favor of it back when they were voting on this. Back when you had Dave Kaler, he's a co-sponsor of the dang thing, right? I mean, he's not even, he didn't just vote for it. Dave Kaler's a sponsor of this thing. He does not care about you. He doesn't care that you have clean drinking water. I mean, the very essence of what a state representative should be is that, hey, let's protect your let's do public safety. Let's make sure you're safe. And let's ensure that you have clean drinking water. He couldn't even do that. The fundamentals of government, he couldn't even stick to that. So it really grinds my gears when you've got Democrats out there saying, oh, yeah, we're going to pass a resolution, which really isn't going to do anything, right? We're going to pass a resolution and we're going to tell the state, hey, you guys totally should create legislation. They're not going to do it. They had a chance back in the spring legislative session. They're not going to do it. If you really wanted to make a difference, Crystal, you would stop campaigning for Dave Kaler, Sharon Chung, who voted for all of this nonsense and sponsored it. You've got Dave Kaler sponsoring it, by the way. So, yeah, I mean, this is just silliness. Let me make sure. I'm sure Sharon Chung voted for this, but I'm going to double check. Yes, Chung voted for it. I want to make sure that that was, in fact, true. We got Dave Kaler sponsoring it, and Chung voted for it. So, yeah, the reason why you won't have clean drinking water, you can blame Sharon Chung and Dave Kaler, who are on your ballot, by the way, this year. I gotta shift gears before I start to really seethe. We were talking about this woman and the First Amendment in Surprise, Arizona. The Surprise mayor is Skip Hall, and he didn't seem to get the memo that the First Amendment is there to limit government and not the people. Okay, Americans have the right to peacefully assemble and criticize their elected officials, just as I'm doing right now with Sharon Chung and Dave Kaler. I'm criticizing them. I'm saying that, hey, if you really cared about people and if you really cared about their drinking water, you would have during legislative session when this came across your desk, you would have voted no and you wouldn't have sponsored the dang thing, right? If Crystal Abel actually cared about you, she'd stop campaigning for people who voted against you having clean drinking water, okay? These people are power-hungry tyrants. They don't give a damn about you, and you have the right to criticize that. In the case of this woman, okay, this is the city of Surprise, Arizona. They were forced to backtrack on their tyrannical rule of prohibiting public complaints about city officials. They actually had a rule. If you were to do like public comment or go to the city council meeting, you could not criticize city officials. Like they actually laid this out in a rule, and they make you sign a piece of paper that you'd abide by the rules, okay? So they arrested a mother who dared exercise her God-given rights, okay, by speaking out against her government. Okay, so they arrested her, and the worst part is that the city hasn't dropped the criminal charges. They arrested her, they charged her. I'm going to play a little bit of this. It's actually warning, trigger warning. Yes, it's really tough to get through because it's quite sad. It's body cam footage of them arresting this poor woman. And like I said, the worst part about this is that the criminal charges are still there. This is blatant disregard for the Constitution. The rule was blatantly a disregard of the Constitution itself. The rule, they've pulled back on that rule now. It's a tyrannical rule where they were prohibiting public comments that were negative against city officials. Okay, they made a rule, but that's a blatant disregard of the Constitution. Let's take a listen here. Like I said, this is really tough to get through because it's sad.
I'm not leaving.
Sure. And you can see in the body cam footage here where they
Can you
approach
just
her.
sit down with me?
No.
Okay.
I'm expressing my fear. Do not touch me. Do not put your hands on me.
Can you just step out with me right
Do
now?
not put your hands on me.
Come on out.
So they drag her.
Do not put your hands on me.
Come out with me now before you get arrested. Do you understand?
Are you detaining me?
Yes. Do you
Why am I
understand?
being detained? Under what charges? Under what charges?
He's got to think about it. Look,
Okay, I have
You're
personal property.
trespassing.
You cannot trespass me. My minor daughter.
Stop it
Go
now.
me. Stop.
all right, it gets really intense here, and then they like throw her to the ground, and it's just she starts screaming. It's hard for me to watch that. So Rebecca Massey, this is according to an outlet. They're called You Are the Power. She is a You Are the Power member, by the way. She was unjustly arrested for simply exercising her right to free speech during her city council meeting on August 20th, 2024. She is a dedicated wife and mother. She was forcibly removed from the meeting in handcuffs. She was speaking at a public comment section. In the public comment section, she was concerned over her city attorney possibly receiving a pay raise. Okay, so they were trying to sneak this pay raise through, obviously, for the city attorney. You and I, we get it, right? We've seen pay raise after pay raise after pay raise for Pam raise. At this point, her pockets are deeper than the potholes, right? That you have to drive over in the town of Normal. Her pockets are very, very deep. She's got lots of money. I mean, at this point, she's on track to make almost as much as the president, which is wild. She's a city manager, for crying out loud, okay? But her 10-year-old daughter was present. This woman, she was expressing her concerns over the city attorney possibly receiving a pay raise, and her 10-year-old daughter witnessed this traumatic event of her mom being arrested, and Mayor Skip Hall ordered an officer with the surprise police department to silence and get rid of Rebecca, get rid of her. So she was formally charged. Criminal trespassing, right? The body cam footage has been released, but they don't care. They don't care about your civil liberties, and they put it on public display. This body cam footage is out there, and she's still facing charges, despite the fact that the tyrants, they knew this was unconstitutional, this rule, where they said, hey, you can't speak negatively against your city officials. I mean, they made that out into a rule, and they rescinded that rule. Yet she's still facing criminal charges. These tyrants have no shame in their unconstitutional game. And that's what's especially concerning here, is that they rescinded their own rule, knowing it was unconstitutional, but they're still charging this woman. So they have no shame. And what's painfully obvious is that she had every right to say what she did up there. She wasn't cussing. She wasn't adversarial, really. She was just talking negatively about the city attorney's performance as a city attorney and said that he doesn't deserve a pay raise. Okay, so she had the right to air her grievances peacefully, and that's what she did. You know who broke the peace? The city. The city broke that peace. And if we lived in a serious country, that mayor would be forced to resign. And I mean, this seems like it's hardly even a story. Nobody's even talking about this, which is a problem in itself. Not only was her arrest unjust, but the people responsible continued to show a lack of remorse towards their actions against this woman. They should have put out press releases saying, oh, we're so sorry. He should have resigned. I mean, she had every right to do what she did. And all of the charges should be dropped immediately. And in fact, I do think that the mayor himself should see charges for breaking his oath to the Constitution, right? Even implementing a law like that, saying that you can't speak out negatively against your city officials. What kind of what country are we living in? Because it's not America. All right, I'll be right back. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Hey, good morning. So do appreciate you tuning in. I add CO2 to the water. It's the only way I drink it. Fizzy water. Yeah, I do like fizzy water, but the Mahomet Aquifer, it will be compromised if there is some carbon pipelines. And what that is, it transfers from one injection well to another. Okay, so the injection process itself with these carbon pipelines really sucks, to be frank with you. You inject it down into these injection wells, and this has been done in Decatur, and we know that the monitoring wells failed there, so there's no true way to know if these carbon injection wells are leaking or if they're failing in any kind of way, because the monitoring wells are all we've got. And like I said, Crystal Abel, she can get out there and virtue signal and say that she's all for this resolution. These people are silly. This resolution isn't going to do anything. What they should have done was never back people like Dave Kaler, who sponsored this legislation without protections for the Mahomet Aquifer. She shouldn't back people like Sharon Chung. If she really wants to show that she gives a damn about her constituency, that's what she would have done. Back in May, right? She would have come out and said, hey, don't vote for Dave Kaler. You really want to make a difference, Crystal? Come out against Dave Kaler for supporting that. Really? I mean, come out and say, hey, Dave Kaler sponsored this. We should not elect him again. Okay? Because he sponsored legislation that is going to compromise your drinking water. It does not protect your drinking water. I mean, at the very fundamentals of what your representative should be doing is protecting your public safety and protecting your infrastructure, your basic infrastructure, like your drinking water, like your sewer, things like that. So, I mean, it baffles my mind when you've got people out there trying to virtue signal saying, oh, yeah, we're going to pass a resolution. We're going to try to pass a resolution that says that we're in support of statewide legislation that protects the Mahomet Aquifer. No, if you really were serious about protecting people and their water and their health when it comes to these carbon pipelines, you would pass a resolution that outright bans it in McLean County. Do it. You won't, because there's too much green to be made in this green weenie crap. And that's why they won't come out and draft a resolution that says, no, we won't have carbon pipelines here. Sorry, we're banning it. They can do that. Declare yourself a sanctuary county in the sense that, hey, we are free from carbon pipelines. We will not compromise the health and the well-being of our citizenry here. That's what I would do if I was a county board member. I'd draft up a resolution and I'd say, no, the state, and they passed this Safe CCS Act. Sorry, here in McLean County, we're not doing that. We're not going to compromise our drinking water. We're not going to allow carbon pipelines to be injected deep into the ground, and we have no idea if they're leaking or not because the monitoring well technology isn't even up to par. So, yeah, if she was serious, they're not a serious people. They're all in it for themselves, and I mean, this is so it just bothers me so much. Let's take a look at who voted for this thing, okay? If they're all upset about the Mahomet Aquifer now, take it up with these people, okay? Take it up with these people. Here we go. I'm going to scroll in here. You're going to see who voted for these things, okay? Amens, Democrat. Take it up with all these people. The only people who voted against this, Republicans, okay? Only people who voted against this are like practically Republicans. Maybe a couple of no. Yeah, these are all. You've got Chung right here. Yes, she voted yes for this. Okay, I mean, this was also legislation that was sponsored by Dave Kaler. Okay, this is in the House. Let me look up. I can definitely look up who voted for it in the Senate. We know that Dave Kaler sponsored it in the Senate. But let me pull up the voting record for the senators who voted for this thing. I mean, I remember clear as day, Chapin Rose getting out there. He was upset and he was cursing on the floor, actually, which a good thing, I mean, we need more of that. More people who are willing to say, hey, This isn't right, and I'm standing up against this. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. Go ahead and find me on YouTube, find me on Rumble. And before we took the break, I was telling you a little bit about Sharon Chung voting for this Safe CCS Act. It's this carbon pipeline nonsense. And, you've got your virtue signaling county board members who say Catherine Metzger, right, and Leah Klein, Crystal Label, they've been working on carbon sequestration and the county's role for more than a year. And we support this resolution. This resolution is going to do nothing. It's going to do nothing. Okay. So the resolution is to support, or essentially they're saying, hey, we're going to support any kind of statewide legislation that comes out to protect the Mahomet Aquifer, our drinking water. You're too late. You're too late. And this isn't if you really want to do something, pass a resolution that outright bans these carbon projects. Okay. This carbon sequestration projects. Make us a sanctuary county. Say, nope, it stops here in McLean County. We're going to protect our citizenry. We're not going to allow this this science that's not backed, that's not proven, that's not tested. We're not going to allow it here in McLean County because it's unsafe. Okay, as proven by the Decatur. Okay, their injection wells, their monitoring wells failed. We have no idea if these carbon pipelines or these carbon injection wells are leaking because the monitoring wells failed. We have no idea if they are leaking right now. Okay, if the carbon injection wells are leaking, and not to mention the carbon pipelines that this legislation, statewide legislation, the Safe CCS Act, that did not include protections for the Mahomet Aquifer, nor did it prohibit eminent domain. Where they can just come in and take your private property. That's what eminent domain is. They just come in, take your private property, and then they put these carbon pipelines underneath your property. It didn't have protections for private property rights. It didn't have protections for the Mahomet Aquifer. Okay, and it's so disingenuous. It's so virtue signaling of Catherine Metzger, of Leah Klein and Crystal Label to say, oh, now we're going to pass a resolution that would support and that says that we support any kind of statewide legislation that provides protection for the Mahomet Aquifer. They could have done this during their legislative session this spring, spring of 2024, they could have included those protections, but they didn't. And guess who sponsored the legislation? That's right, you guessed it, Dave Kaler. Dave Kaler. So if Crystal Label, Catherine Metzger, and Leah Klein really want to do something, they need to start campaigning against Dave Kaler. Okay, because he's the reason why you might not have clean drinking water. He and Sharon Chung voted for this thing. Okay, so if they were serious about it, they'd pass a resolution that outright bans these projects, or they would campaign against Dave Kaler and Sharon Chung on this issue, because these are the issues that matter. These are the issues that matter to you. And, abortion, whatever, all of that doesn't really matter to McLean County. The fact this is what your representatives should always make sure, that you've got public safety, that you're safe, and that your infrastructure is there, your basic infrastructure, like clean drinking water, sewer, all of that, roads, your basic infrastructure is there. Okay, that is the you got to at least have the fundamentals. And if they're not even, if they're willing to vote against that, they're willing to vote against your basic infrastructure and your safety, they don't care about you. They have no care in the world for you. Dave Kaler, Sharon Chung, and Crystal Label saying that, oh, this is going to do something. It's not. So like I said, this McLean County meeting, this executive committee meeting, it's just complete virtue signaling, and it's nonsense. We see right through this. Okay. All right. I do want to talk a little bit about Donald Trump, New York City. He was there at the, he's going to be there at the Madison Garden in New York City. And really, this is just him saying, hey, I'm winning, and now I'm going into the deep blue states. So New York is not in play. He's not going to, flip New York and cause New York to become blue all of a sudden, okay? Or become red all of a sudden. It's going to be a deep blue state still. So Trump, he campaigned this week, and he said that he's going to be performing at the Madison Square Garden on October 27th. That is in the heart of New York City. This is deep blue. And I know that it's called the Garden now, but sorry, it's still Madison Square Garden for me. I don't care your political correctness and removing names from these places, Madison Square Garden, that's what I call it. Okay. Now, there are people who think that this is a waste of time because it's New York and it's deep blue. And then there's people who are saying that, hey, this means New York is in play. I think that they're both wrong. The people who say that this is a waste of time and the people who say that New York is in play. I don't think that they're right. Both of those people. Okay. I think that the people that say that this is a waste of time are much more wrong. And there's two reasons why this state is never going to be in play and why Illinois will never be in play. One reason is Manhattan and the other reason is Brooklyn. Now, in Illinois' case, it's Chicago, okay? As long as there's millions and millions of low information urbanites living on top of each other in these Democrat strongholds where Democrats manipulate them into voting against their own self-interest, i.e. Bloomington. McLean County never used to be a Democrat stronghold, and I hope it doesn't turn out to be that way. But we've got Democrats who manipulate voters against their own self-interest using social issues like abortion, okay? And they're dependent on Democrats via their public employment. The government sector is just ballooned in Illinois. Same thing for New York, California. A lot of these urbanites rely on Democrats for their employment, okay, their public employment. And like I said, the state is probably going to go blue. Illinois and New York and California, they're all blue, okay? And they're going to go blue in this presidential election. But there's legitimately people out there who think Republicans will take their abortions away from them. And, although it's more likely for New York Democrats to legalize abortion in like the 4th trimester or whatever, right up to the 9th month or the 7th trimester, the baby's like four years old, and you're like, oh yeah, we'll legalize abortion and you can get rid of your child even at 4 years old, right? That's more likely than Republicans taking away abortion. But yeah, they'll vote for that every single time in these blue strongholds, New York, Chicago, and California. Okay. If you remove those two counties or those counties in New York, though, and if you remove Cook County from Illinois, they'd be pretty much purple. Same thing for Illinois. I think we'd be red if we removed Cook County. But Trump is performing at this Madison Garden. And I think that this is a really smart move because unlike the Kamala Harris campaign, Trump is doing this because he's trying to behave like he's not losing. He isn't losing. He's winning. He's up in the polls, but he's behaving like a winner. Okay. The Harris campaign, they're behaving like they're losers. Okay. They're behaving like they're losing. She's out there on all these on this media tour. She's trying to get in front of everybody. She's behaving like she's losing. The Trump campaign is acting like they're winning. So I've got to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. We'll be right back talking about how Trump is going to be campaigning in these blue strongholds. Also, a little bit about the third assassination attempt. That's important. That happened over the weekend. Yes, that actually happened. There was a third assassination attempt. The feds don't think so, but the local sheriff and the local authorities, they're doubling down on it. They're saying, yes, this was a third assassination attempt. That's next on Conservative Cat.
recess until tomorrow. A former governor recalls his battle with Madigan over utility rate legislation. Madigan and co-defendant Michael McLean are accused of causing various businesses, including the utility company Commonwealth Edison, to make monetary payments to Madigan's associates as a reward for their loyalty to Madigan. Former Illinois Governor Pat Quinn said he vetoed bills in 2011 and 2013, which allowed ComEd to collect billions of additional dollars by charging higher electric rates. The Attorney General, Lisa Madigan, supported my vetoes, and she worked with me. And we said this was a very bad way to go. The former governor said he explained his veto to Madigan. Nobody knew that there was alleged bribery going on. And I told the speaker back then that this was a mistake. The General Assembly voted to override Quinn's vetoes both times. I'm Jim Talamonte. News on the air, on the web, on your app, and on Alexa, I'm Tom Davis. Here's the Bloomington Normal Forecast on Cities 92.9. Increasing clouds for today with a high of 59. Gradual clearing tonight, low 36. Mostly sunny Tuesday with a high near 55. Frost to start the day Wednesday, then sunshine with a high of 58. 64 for Thursday. This weather report is lifted by DH Base Garage Doors, residential and commercial garage doors and entry doors since 1926. Service at dhbaseGarageDoors.com. This is Kathy Michael, McLean County Clerk. I bet you've heard there's an election coming up. Would you like to vote right now? You can vote Monday through Friday from 8:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon at one of our early voting locations, the Eastland Mall next to Kohl's, or the Government Center in downtown Bloomington. Not ready to vote this early? You can have your ballot mailed to you. We have a very secure vote-by-mail process, supervised by cameras, poll watchers, and Democratic and Republican election judges. And you don't have to worry whether your ballot made it to our office. With our new process, you can actually track your ballot. Would you like to see who's on your ballot before you vote? We have more than just a generic sample ballot. You can type in your address and see exactly what your ballot will look like. Just Google McLean County Clerk and click on the elections link for all your election information.
You waited, and now the future of luxury driving is here on the corner of Fort Jesse and Veterans Parkway. The all-new Genesis of Bloomington Normal is now open for all your sales and service needs. Take a peek for yourself and discover exceptional service, unparalleled quality, and a driving experience unlike any other. Fuel your passion for style and sophistication at the all-new Genesis of Bloomington Normal, or visit genesisofbloomingtonnormal.com. If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes with DH Base Garage Doors. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors and openers of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with DH Base Garage Doors. Yes! Enter now at dhbaseGarageDoors.com. You can't win if you don't enter at dhbaseGarageDoors.com.
The Fox Business Report is from INB's new Lockbox Lite, making it easier for businesses to get their banking done. I'm Liz Clayman, and this is the Fox Business Report. Layoffs are coming at Boeing, and Boeing shares are down 1.7%. The aircraft giant is laying off approximately 17,000 workers. CEO Kelly Ortberg says it's hard to overstate the challenges Boeing is facing. The strike by its machinists is entering its fifth week. Though the layoffs are to put the company on a more secure footing once the strike ends. 7-Eleven is closing nearly 450 stores across North America. The locations are seeing weaker sales, though it's only about 3% of the company's stores. It has about 3,000 locations in North America. Used electric vehicles are selling at bargain prices, down 25% from the start of the year. The Wall Street Journal says prices of EVs are being slashed because of weaker demand for new models. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jimmy Cosola, invested in you.
Hey, Donald Trump Jr. here. Central banks are buying gold at record amounts, and the trend is accelerating in 2024. They see the writing on the wall. The dollar is failing. Is gold the answer for you too? To find out, get a free info kit from Birch Gold Group by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. That's SHELTER to the number 989898 to get your trust right now. That's Tuesday, included.
At Tax and Accounting Plus, they're rock stars, but instead of microphones and guitars, they use spreadsheets. Focus on growing your business and servicing your customers while Tax and Accounting Plus handles your payroll.
Woo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. Yes, I am a little upset. This morning I've been talking about this resolution that they're planning on passing. It's complete virtue signaling, and I want you to tune in because you've got Democrats out there, Sharon Chung, Dave Kaler, Crystal Abel. They're going to try to make it all about the social issues. Okay, they're going to try to get you to vote for them because they want you. They're trying to convince you that Republicans will take your abortions away. That's not likely at all. What's more likely is that you've got Democrats who are willing to legalize abortion up until the child is like 2 years old. Okay, you've got Democrats who are willing to legalize abortion up until the 7th trimester. And there's not a single Republican who wants to take away your abortion right. Okay, there's pro-lifers out there. Okay, there's pro-lifers. However, even with this Roe v. Wade and with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, you're not seeing states pass like outright abortion bans. Okay, they've put limitations on it, 6 weeks. You've got, different, it varies across the country where they're putting limitations on it, but not a single Republican is voting to take abortions away entirely. That's very unlikely. It's more likely that you've got Democrats who are willing to, abortion with no parameters at all, no limitations, and you can abort the child even if that child is born and is out of the womb. Okay, so they'll try to convince you that this election is about abortion and your right to abortion. It's not. It's about things like this. The Mahomet Aquifer, okay, and they're virtue signaling here. Crystal Abel, she says, at the McLean County Executive Committee tonight at 4 o'clock, Chair Metzger will present a resolution to support statewide legislation, i.e. that means nothing. That does nothing. You're saying you'd support state legislation that protects the drinking water, Mahomet Aquifer. It's virtue signaling. You had a chance. Back in May to come out against this when Sharon Chung, your buddy, and Dave Kaler, Crystal Abel, they actually voted for this thing. In fact, Dave Kaler sponsored this thing. They gutted a bill. They replaced it with the Safe CCS Act. It was a bill originally dealing with dental insurance, and then they gutted it, replaced it with this Safe CCS Act. And, they're going to try to do this resolution that says, we'd support legislation that would prohibit CO2 sequestration wells from being drilled through the aquifer, which I don't know if she knew that they're not drilled through the aquifer. Like, nobody's talking about that. Usually it's underneath the aquifer is what we have to worry about, or around the aquifer, these pipelines. Okay, and if they leak, that leak could seep into the drinking water. Okay, so she says, myself, Leah Klein, and Catherine Metzger have been working on carbon sequestration and the county's role for more than a year, and we support this resolution. Hope the rest of the board agrees with us. And I really hope that Republicans on that board point this out, that this is virtue signaling, and if they really wanted to make a difference, that they'd pass a resolution banning these carbon sequestration projects, especially with all of the science that we do have. In Decatur, they have these things. There was a monitoring well that failed, which means you don't know if it's going to leak, and you have no way of telling if that injection well is leaking. These are pipelines, by the way. They're not injection wells. They're a step up from injection wells. It's a step up. It's more complicated, where they transfer from injection well to injection well. And, if they were serious, they'd pass a resolution just outright banning these carbon sequestration projects in McLean County because they're not safe. Okay, there's science that says it's not safe. There's, receipts that say that this isn't safe. So, like I said, it's virtue signaling. And this election is about that stuff. Okay, this election is about the fact that Dave Gaylor, Sharon Chung, they voted against your best interests. They voted against basic infrastructure and public safety. Okay, that's what this election is about. They're going to try to make it about abortion. Before I took the break, I was telling you about how Donald Trump is visiting these blue strongholds. And like I said, the state of New York is not in play, okay? New York City is a lost cause. What isn't a lost cause is the suburbs, east and north of the Madison Garden, okay, where he's going to be performing October 27th, Donald Trump is. What is also important to note is that there's congressional wins on Long Island and in the Hudson Valley where Republicans held Congress in 2022. So we could gain some congressional seats if Donald Trump goes down there to goes up there to campaign, right, in New York. So seeing what progressive control has done to New York City has driven voters in those areas to vote for anyone who supports or to vote out anyone who supports those policies, okay, on a local level. So I'm hoping that Trump rallying in this garden, this Madison Garden, helps turnout in those areas, those suburbs, and they start voting against the people who vote or the people who implement policies that destroy their life. Okay, voters are going to be driven to vote for change. And the change is Donald Trump. They're sick and tired of the same policies at the local level, the congressional level, and that's going to inspire them to vote against the Democrats. So I'm hoping that Trump rallying in these deep blue states drive voter turnout and we gain some maybe congressional seats as well. I do have to take a quick break, but when I come back, I'm going to be wrapping this up. Donald Trump, did you guys know that there was a third assassination attempt? Yes. In California, Coachella rally, a local sheriff insists that this was a third assassination attempt. There's a lot to unpack there, but when I come back, I'm going to be chatting a little bit more about these blue stronghold areas and how Donald Trump campaigning there is actually a good thing because it's also indicative that he thinks that he's winning. Because he's acting like a winner. He's campaigning in these blue strongholds, whereas you have the Harris campaign, they're acting like they're losing. They're going on these failed programs. They're trying to get in the ears of everyone. Howard Stern, she was on with Howard Stern. She was on Stephen Colbert. She's on all these programs. She's acting like she's losing. And Donald Trump is acting like he's winning by going to Coachella, by going to Madison Square Garden, by going to Chicago, right? He is planning to go to Chicago as well. So he's going to these blue strongholds because he's acting like he's winning. All right, I do have to take a quick break. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Hey, good morning. Go ahead, smash that like button if you're watching. Yes, I love this. If trees were planted instead of solar panels, carbon would be absorbed and oxygen produced. Duh. Yeah, let's get back to the common sense of things, right? In Chicago, there is, I've done stories on this several times. There was this Barack Obama golf course where they wiped out all the trees in Chicago. And specifically in Chicago, the tree population is just dwindling. And it's Democrats who constantly vote for all of these projects, right? These silly little, legacy projects, as I like to call them. They'll vote for that, and it subsequently causes all of these trees to be eliminated. So they don't care about the planet because I care more about your actions. Okay, I care more about your actions. You can tell me all day that you care about the climate and that you're all about getting to no carbon emissions or whatever, but your actions speak louder than your words. for example, the carbon sequestration thing, that actually emits more carbon than it actually probably sequesters itself, because there's a cleaning process that has to happen. Now, with ethanol plants, the carbon emissions are a little bit cleaner, but with other plants like factories or Bridgestone tire, for example, if they emit carbon or something like that, that carbon is other things in it other than carbon, and you can only sequester the carbon out of that. So there's a cleaning process that has to happen, and that cleaning process of the carbon actually emits a lot of carbon. So it's not really going to benefit. It's not even going to reach the goal of sequestering carbon and taking it out of the air and putting it down into the ground and out of the planet. Okay. What would help would be the trees. Let's plant more trees. But as I've said multiple times, actually, let me pull this up. I'm going to pull this up real quick. Democrats consistently, they vote against the trees. Okay. Let's see here. If I can find this. Yeah, okay. Stadium, golf course, thoroughfare, threaten Chicago's mature trees is a group. Okay, here's the article. I'll share this with you, written by moi. You can read it in the center square. I've got it pulled up here on the Washington Examiner. But they have talked with me before. They are a group, they're an environmentalist group, and they talk about how asthma cases and respiratory disease cases are on the rise in Chicago, and it's because they're cutting down mature trees for these legacy projects like the Barack Obama golf course, right, and like this thoroughfare, and you can bet that this is all Democrat-sponsored projects. Okay, you've got State Representative Cam Buckner, whose district includes parts of Chicago South Lakefront and downtown. He filed a bill that he said would return DuSable Lakeshore Drive to the people. Okay, this resolution, it's House Resolution 438. Let me zoom in on this so you can see this all, hopefully. It passed in May, and it urges the Chicago Department of Transportation and Illinois Department of Transportation to create a lakefront thoroughfare. And basically that's going to take out a lot of the trees. Okay, there was a recent tree survey that found that Chicago has 16% tree cover and New York has something like 22%. So they're cutting down more trees with all of these legacy projects. Woohoo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single day. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button on YouTube. Before I took the break, I was telling you a little bit about Donald Trump. Now, he's campaigning in blue strongholds, and that's the behavior of a winner. Okay, he feels like he's winning, and he's going out there and he's acting like a winner. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, she's acting like a loser. She's going on Howard Stern. She's going on Stephen Colbert. This is how you know that she knows that she's losing. That's why she's campaigning like she is, and that's why Donald Trump is campaigning like he is. So like I said, I don't think that he's going to put New York in play or Illinois in play or California, but hopefully he drives out turnout, okay, voter turnout for these local races, the congressional districts, and things like Proposition 1, which is a statewide ballot initiative in New York, and it's known as the Parent Replacement Act. People are calling it the Parent Replacement Act. Democrats have called it the Equal Rights Amendment, right? In the same way they call the Marxist environmental bill the Inflation Reduction Act. Really, it was an environmentalist bill. And they hide what's actually in it. So what's in it is actually kids being able to go get serious medical procedures like gender transitioning without their parents' approval. Okay, so Proposition 1 would strip legal rights of parents with school-aged children to know crucially important things happening in their kids' lives, including controversial gender transformation procedures. Okay, schools would be required to permit biological males to compete on girls' sports teams if voters approve this amendment. So that's what this is, this Proposition 1 that's on the New York ballot. So hopefully what he's doing right now, Donald Trump, he's acting like a winner. He's kind of put his campaign on hold in a way, and he's hoping to get the voter turnout in their use blue strongholds for things like Proposition 1 or these local races or the congressional races. Okay, so the last reason rallying in Madison Garden matters is the popular vote. Okay, and he wants to remove that Democrat talking point that the Democrats and the media constantly put out there every election cycle, is that, oh, Republicans lost the popular vote. Democrats win the popular vote because of places like New York, Chicago, California. They win the popular vote, and Republicans can win 48 other states, yet still lose the popular vote because of these two states and these Democrat strongholds like New York City, Chicago, California, cities in California. So Donald Trump, he's been polling shockingly well in these two deep blue areas. Enough to flip the state? No, I don't think that he's going to flip the state. But we also shouldn't take comfort in that he's campaigning in these blue strongholds, because I'm acting like he's 2 points down in the polls. I'm going to continue to act like that until we get to November 5th, and everybody should be spending these next 20-ish days or so behaving like that. We're fighting because that's how we ensure a win. Okay, let's act like he's not performing as well as he is, and let's actually get out the vote. So Madison Garden, October 27th, he did perform in Coachella over the weekend, and he almost died at this Coachella rally because there was a third assassination attempt, according to local sheriff there. He insists that this was an assassination attempt. Of course, the feds are saying, no, this was an assassination attempt. Come on, the guy had an unregistered car. He had fake passports, fake driver's license. He was trying to get into the rally using a fake press pass. And they're trying to say, oh, he was just a far-right extremist who had a bunch of guns in his car. Come on. He was an anti-government far-right. He's a part of this group. And this far-right group he's in, apparently the crux of this group and what they believe in is that they physically reside in the country, but they're separate or sovereign from the United States. That sounds like leftist ideology to me. You guys remember Chaz, Seattle, Washington? All right, I got to go. But love you so much. You guys have a blessed day. We'll do it all over again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. At 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Daily show Monday through Friday. This has been Conservative Cat.